Are you a fan of The Andy Griffith Show? If so, you probably remember the character Otis the Drunk, who was featured on several episodes. But do you know about the actor behind the role? Hal Smith played Otis the Drunk, as well as several other memorable characters in film and TV in a career spanning 4 decades. Let's learn about Hal Smith's life and career and how he came to play Otis the Drunk. Beginnings in showbiz. Otis the Drunk would get frequently locked up in Mayberry's jail, but Hal Smith was born miles away in Petoskey, Michigan in 1916. Something must have been in his genes that gave him a natural talent for entertaining. Upon graduating high school, he decided to pursue a career in radio. He worked as a DJ as well as a voice actor for a radio station in New York. He worked in radio from 1936 to 43 and honed his craft during this time. But he really realized he was destined for show business during the Second World War. He enlisted in the U.S. Air Force and was stationed in the Philippines from 1943 to 46. He was part of the Special Services Division, responsible for providing entertainment to the troops. It was here he really began to master his craft. He was honorably discharged as a sergeant in 1946 and awarded many medals. These were the American Campaign Medal, the World War II Victory Medal, the Philippine Liberation Medal, and the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal. Before we tell you more about Hal Smith's life and career, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse for more. Beginnings in TV and film. Hal began his TV career with many bit parts and recurring roles in some of the most popular TV shows of the 50s and 60s. These included roles in shows like I Married Joan, The People's Choice, The Life and Legend of Wyatt Earp, Broken Arrow, The Red Skelton Show, and Clutch Cargo. He had a scattered film career alongside his early TV career, though many roles went uncredited. His first film role was in Stars Over Texas, and throughout the 50s and 60s, he was in films like The Milkman, Francis Covers the Big Town, Hot Car Girl, and The Apartment. Otis the Drunk. Sometimes a character doesn't have to be in every episode of a show to make an impact. They also don't have to have significant screen time to leave a lasting impression. Such was the case with Hal's breakthrough character, Otis the Drunk. Otis Campbell was the town drunk in Mayberry, a fictitious southern town that made the setting for The Andy Griffith Show. The show ran from 1960 to 68 and had over 400 episodes. Out of these, he only appeared in 32, yet the character remains one of the most popular characters that fans remember and love. Otis would get too inebriated in public and would show up at the Mayberry police station only to lock himself in the jail cell without Andy or Barney having to arrest him or force him. Hal reprised this role in the 1986 TV movie Return to Mayberry. Though Otis Campbell was a drunk, Hal Smith seldom drank alcohol. He even appeared as Otis in campaigns held by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. The character gave Hal Smith the lovable image he'd have for the rest of his life. But even behind the character, Hal became one of the most loved actors in the industry. Early struggles. Let's rewind and talk more about Hal's early career. He was involved in music since his teens, even starting his own orchestra in the 30s known as Hal Smith and His Music. His parents didn't really care for his music career, but this didn't stop him. He knew he loved entertaining others and wanted to make a living in showbiz. Apart from music, he was even part of a vaudeville double act called Trade and Mark. When he transitioned to the radio, he worked as a DJ, radio actor, and even a newsreader. He eventually hosted his own show called The Yawn Patrol. Here he'd sing songs, play piano, and play a variety of characters. While he was spending the 30s and 40s honing his craft and building his resume, he knew he was destined to reach wider audiences. Hal's film and TV career. While many of Hal's film roles throughout the 50s went uncredited, he was happy to receive regular work. He once stated he was happy just being a supporting actor, but even if he wasn't the lead, he could still steal the show. His talent did in fact come from his parents, even though they weren't involved in showbiz. His father, Jay, was a millwright who had a knack for telling stories and entertaining. Any fan should look back at his early films to see how Hal managed to stand out even with a small role. He was cast as a voice actor in many popular animated TV shows of the time, including The Yogi Bear Show and The Flintstones. In fact, among his most famous voice roles included Al in The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh and Goofy after Pinto Colvig, the original voice actor, died. He also lent his voice to episodes of the Pink Panther animated series, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, and as Philip the Horse in Beauty and the Beast. He also regularly appeared in commercials for several major brands like Pizza Hut, Toyota, Mattel, and General Mills. Hal's legacy. There were certain challenges with being known mostly for Otis the Drunk on the Andy Griffith Show. Many people couldn't distinguish Hal from Otis and assumed he was also an alcoholic. His son Terry was often asked if his father was exactly like Otis. On one occasion, Hal came across an irate employee at a hardware store who stated his brother started drinking after watching Otis Campbell on the show. At the height of his fame, Hal would be offered free drinks wherever he'd go, but he would turn them down as he rarely drank alcohol. Otis was so loved by fans that Hal became one of America's most loved entertainers. In 1964, Hal Smith Day was planned to pay a tribute to him. The town of Messina, New York, came together to plan the day. It was a group banquet that included breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Hal also visited the local hospital to entertain patients. One vacant store was redesigned to look like the Mayberry jail. It was here where Hal met many of his loyal fans and signed autographs. There was live music, a limousine service, and a reunion with Hal's old school friends. He was moved that he had reached such stardom. The Andy Griffith Show was still running, and Hal was still a relatively new star, yet he had amassed such fame that an entire town wanted to celebrate him and his talent. He continued to act well into the 90s, mostly in television, with much of his later career being dedicated to voice acting. In the late 80s and early 90s, he also re-entered the world of radio drama. Hal was married to Louise from 1936 to 1992 when she passed away. Together, they had a son Terry who survives them. Hal Smith passed away in 1994 at age 77. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know any of these facts about Hal Smith? Do you think Hal Smith's best work was in the Andy Griffith Show? Let us know in the comment section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to FactsVerse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.